Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a deep dive
Yeah.
today into something absolutely crucial for anyone with an RV. You've shared some really detailed sources on a specific device, the Safety Alert 3442 LP gas alarm.
That's the one.
So think of this as, your guide to really getting a handle on this essential safety gear. We're going to pull out the key info, the aha moments,
Right.
and make sure you're clear on what it is, why you need it, how it works, and maybe most importantly, what you need to do to rely on it.
Yeah, that last part's critical.
Because propane, it's fantastic for RVs, right?
Yeah.
Power stoves, fridges, heat.
Everything, pretty much, when you're off-grid.
But leaks are incredibly dangerous. It's naturally colorless, odorless. And here's the really interesting bit. Unlike smoke.
Which rises, yeah.
Exactly. Propane gas is heavier than air.
Yeah.
So it sinks. It pools down low.
Creates that invisible odorless explosion risk right at floor level.
Exactly. So this device, it's designed to be your silent guardian against that specific threat. Our mission here isn't just to say you have an alarm.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's to really understand its role and, importantly, your part in making sure it works.
That point about it being heavier than air, that's just fundamental, isn't it?
Totally changes the game compared to a smoke detector.
Completely. Where you put it is everything. Understanding that physical property is, well, it's key to appreciating why this type of alarm and how you install it matters so much.
Right. It's not just another box on the wall. So let's dig into that first. Propane in RVs. Why is it so common, but also why the big concern over leaks?
Well, propane, or LP gas, it's kind of the lifeblood for RV systems when you aren't plugged into shore power. Furnaces, water heaters.
There's the stoves.
Exactly. It gives you that freedom, that off-grid capability. It's efficient. The danger, though, comes from its basic nature. It's invisible, and initially it has no smell.
So that rotten egg smell people talk about.
Yeah.
That's added.
Correct. That's an additive, or Captain, put in specifically so we can smell it. But, and this is crucial, you absolutely cannot rely only on your nose. Well, think about it. Air currents can disperse the smell. Maybe you have a cold, or a poor sense of smell generally. Or you're asleep.
Right, you wouldn't detect it.
Exactly. You could miss a dangerous leak completely.
And this density thing you mentioned, heavier than air, that's where the risk really concentrates.
Precisely. If you get a leak, the propane doesn't just mix evenly in the air. It flows downwards, almost like water. It pools in the lowest spots floor level, inside low cabinets, maybe even under the floor.
And that pooled gas is the hazard zone.
That's the danger zone.
Yeah.
Highly flammable. A tiny spark, turning on a light switch, static from your clothes, an appliance kicking on,
Boom.
could trigger a fire, or worse, an explosion. This alarm is designed to catch that buildup before it reaches that critical point.
Okay, which brings us right to the Safety Alert 3442. How is this specific unit engineered for that problem?
So this is where you get into specialized design. It's an LP gas alarm specifically made for RVs. MTI Industries makes it. Safety Alert is the brand. And the 3442 models, like the PWT, that's white, or PBR for brown, they're flush mount.
Meaning it sits in the wall.
Yeah, installs into the wall, gives it that clean, integrated look you usually see in RVs.
Okay, so it fits the space. What are the key features that actually make it work as a safety device?
Well, one really critical thing is its sensitivity. What's fascinating here is it's set to trigger the alarm at less than 25% of propane's lower explosive limit, the LEL.
Less than 25%, so way before it can actually ignite.
Exactly. That gives you a significant safety margin. It warns you when gas levels are detected, but well below the point where things get really dangerous, gives you time to react safely.
Okay, low trigger point makes sense. And letting you know, is it loud?
Oh, yeah. It's at an 85 decibel audible alarm that meets, sometimes exceeds, the standards. It's designed to be jarring, to wake you up, cut through noise.
Good, and I see a test mute button.
Yeah, dual function. Really important. Lets you test the whole system, lights, siren, sensor, and also lets you temporarily silence the alarm if it goes off, like maybe while you're ventilating after a minor trigger.
Does the sensor need a lot of upkeep? Cleaning?
It actually uses a self-cleaning sensor. Now, no detector lasts forever, we'll get to that, but this feature helps maintain accuracy and reliability over its working life without you needing to, physically clean the sensor element itself.
And it runs on the RV's power.
Always. It runs continuously off the RV's 12-volt DC system. There are no batteries for operation that you need to change. As long as the RV has power, it's monitoring.
But it can tell you if that RV power gets too low.
Yes, another good feature. It has a low voltage warning. If the RV's main power drops down to around 7 volts, it'll give you a warning signal.
Because the alarm itself needs more than that.
Right, it operates reliably down to about 8 volts. So hitting 7 volts is a heads up that your overall RV power system is critically low and needs attention fast, because soon the alarm itself might not function correctly.
Gotcha. And what's this about a rapid recovery sensor?
Ah, yeah, that's a clever safety bit. Say the alarm goes off, red light, siren. You hit mute to quiet it down while you open windows.
Okay.
That sensor recovers really quickly and rechecks the air. If the gas level is still above that alarm threshold after the mute period, usually about 90 seconds,
It starts screaming again.
the audible alarm comes right back on. You can't just silence it and forget about it if the gas is still there. It forces you to make sure the area is actually clear.
That's a good fail-safe.
Yeah.
And it meets all the official standards.
Oh, absolutely. It's certified, meets RVIA and NFPA requirements. It's listed to UL 1484, which is specific for RV gas detectors. These are serious industry benchmarks.
Good to know. Made in the USA, too, the sources mentioned.
Yep.
Okay, installation. This sounds like where things get really critical. You said flush mount and placement is key. What's involved? Where does it have to go?
This is, like you said, absolutely paramount. Because propane sinks, the alarm must be mounted low down, near the floor. That's where the gas will concentrate first.
So definitely not up high like a smoke alarm.
Absolutely not. And there are specific places you must avoid. You can't block the airflow to it, so no hiding it behind furniture, curtains, or sticking it inside a closet.
The gas has to reach it.
Exactly. Also, avoid really drafty spots. Like, don't put it within about 12 inches of doors, windows, or heating-cooling vents. A strong draft could blow the gas away from the sensor.
Okay. Any other no-go zones?
Yeah, they also say avoid putting it right in corners or on outside walls, again, within about 12 inches. It seems those spots can sometimes affect how the gas naturally pools and might delay detection.
And the power connection sounds like that's non-negotiable, too.
Totally non-negotiable. It needs a continuous 12-volt DC feed from a fused circuit that cannot be switched off.
Meaning not wired into a light switch circuit or something.
Exactly. No wall switches, no GFCIs that could trip, not on a breaker you might easily flip off thinking you're turning something else off. It has to have constant power whenever the RV has power, period. Safety mandate.
Okay. And the flush mount itself, that just screws.
No, it's a bit more involved. You actually have to cut a hole in the wall. The specs say roughly 5 38 inches wide by 2 inches high.
Okay.
And you need about an inch of clear space behind the wall for the body of the unit. So yeah, it takes some care, maybe some tools. Might be a job for professional installation if you're not comfortable with that.
Right. So installed right, wired right, placed right. How do you know it's actually, working day to day?
Good question. Once it's hooked up to 12 volts, it powers on automatically. And in normal mode, powered up, monitoring, no gas detected, you'll see a steady green LED light.
So green means go, basically. It's on duty.
Pretty much. That green light is your constant visual check that it has power and it's actively sniffing the air for propane. It's a bit of peace of mind.
But just seeing green isn't enough, right? You mentioned testing.
Absolutely not enough. Routine testing is, again, paramount. This isn't optional. It's a critical safety habit you have to build.
How often are we talking for testing?
The guidance is really clear on this. Test it after your RV's been stored for any length of time. Test it before every single trip. And test it at least weekly when you're actively using the RV.
Weekly during use.
Okay.
And how do you do the test?
Simple. You just press and hold that test mute button.
Oh.
While you're holding it, that green light should turn RVD, and the 85 dB alarm should sound off loud and clear.
Yeah, when you let go.
When you release the button, the sound should stop immediately, and the light should go back to solid green. That full sequence confirms the whole system is working. Sensor, circuitry, alarm.
This sounds basic, but it's critical.
Yeah.
What if it doesn't do that? If the light doesn't change, or no sound, or it stays red?
Yeah, this is a hard stop. If the alarm fails that test in any way, you must stop relying on it immediately. It's faulty.
So take it out.
Remove it. It needs to be sent back for repair or replaced right away. A non-testing alarm provides zero protection. It's a dangerous false sense of security.
That's a really vital point. Okay, let's break down the signals then. Beyond the normal green, what happens? And crucially, what do you do if that ready light comes on and the alarm starts blaring?
Okay, that's the main event. Ready light plus the loud audible alarm means one thing. Propane gas alarm. It's detecting dangerous levels of propane right there at the sensor.
Time for the action plan.
Exactly. And you should really have this plan written down, posted somewhere visible in the RV.
First step, panic.
No, stay calm, but act fast. First, turn off all gas appliances, your stove, furnace, water heater, fridge if it's on gas. Extinguish any open flames, candles, cigarettes, anything.
And crucially,
Critically, do not touch any electrical switches. Don't turn lights on or off. Don't flip fans. Don't unplug things. Anything that could create a spark.
because the gas is there. Okay, and what?
Get everyone out. Immediately evacuate everyone from the RV. Get well clear of it.
Then ventilate.
Yep. Once everyone's safe outside, open the doors, open the windows wide open. Let the air circulate. Remember, propane sinks, so you need to give it a path to flow out.
And cut off the supply.
Absolutely. Go outside to your main propane tank or tanks and turn the main valve off. Shut it down at the source.
Okay, everyone's out, windows open, tank off. When is it safe to go back? And how do you fix it?
You only go back in once the RV has aired out thoroughly. And it's safe when you no longer smell any propane, and this is important, the alarm itself has stopped sounding and gone back to green.
Right, the alarm confirms it's clear at that spot.
Then, you need to find and repair the leak. If you're comfortable and know how, you can try to locate it. But if you can't find it, or you're not sure how to fix it safely, or have any doubt,
Call a professional.
definitely don't use any propane appliances until you're certain the leak is fixed by someone qualified.
You mentioned the mute button earlier. Can you use that during a real alarm?
Yes, you can. If the red alarm is sounding, pressing test mute will temporarily silence the sound for about 90 seconds. This can make it easier to, think and act while you ventilate.
But the light stays red.
Crucially, yes. The red LED stays on during the mute period. It's your visual reminder that the gas hazard is still present. And remember that rapid recovery sensor.
Yeah.
If the gas level hasn't dropped below the threshold after those 90 seconds, the siren will start right back up. It only fully silences and goes green when the gas is actually gone from the sensor area.
Okay, so red means gas. What if you get a yellow light? Maybe with beeping.
Okay, a yellow light, often with some kind of specific chirp or flash pattern described in the manual, that indicates a malfunction alarm.
Meaning the alarm itself is broken.
Essentially, yes. It means there's an internal fault. Could be the sensor, could be the circuitry. The bottom line is the unit is considered unreliable. It cannot be trusted to detect propane.
And the action plan for yellow is different.
Very different and very direct. The manufacturer is explicit. If you get a malfunction alarm, yellow light, remove the alarm immediately.
Wow.
It's faulty. It's not providing protection. It needs to be returned for repair or replacement. And obviously, until you get a working one installed, you need to be extra cautious, maybe avoid using propane if possible.
Good to know. And the low power warning we touched on, that's just about the RV system.
Exactly. That's the alarm telling you your RV's 12-volt system is weak, down around 7 volts. It needs stable power, ideally 12 volts, operates down to 8 to work properly. So that warning isn't about a fault in the alarm, it's a critical warning about your RV's power supply. Check batteries, converter, charging system right away.
Okay, that covers installation, operation, emergencies. What about the long haul? Do these things last forever?
That's a really common misunderstanding, and maybe one of the most critical details people miss, the difference between shelf life and service life.
Shelf life versus service life. Okay, break that down.
Right. Even with that self-cleaning sensor, these detectors have a finite lifespan. The shelf life is usually 10 years from the date it was made. You'll often find a manufacturing date stamped right on the unit.
So how long it can sit in a box?
Basically, yeah. Before, the internal components might just start aging, even without power. But the service life is the big one for users. That's typically 5 years. And that 5-year clock starts ticking the moment you first connect power to it.
Wait, hang on. So the 5 years starts when I install it, not from the date on the box.
Exactly. That's the key thing. The sensor starts doing its job and also starts its slow, unavoidable degradation process the instant it gets powered up in your RV. It doesn't matter if it sat on a store shelf for a year or two before that.
Wow.
For safety, you absolutely must keep track of the installation date. That's the day you wired it in. That 5-year mark from that date is your primary replacement trigger.
So if I buy one that was made, say, 2 years ago, I still only get 5 years of use from the day I install it, not like 8 years.
Correct. You get 5 years from the day you give it power. Now, the 10-year manufacturing date is the absolute maximum. If your 5 years of service would push it past 10 years from manufacture, you'd replace it at the 10-year mark. But usually it's that 5 years from installation that comes up first.
That's really critical to understand. So writing that installation date on the unit itself or in your RV maintenance log.
Highly recommended. It's the only way to know for sure when that 5-year service clock starts.
Okay, just to hammer it home, when must you replace this alarm?
Replace it immediately if it ever fails the routine test. Replace it immediately if you get that yellow malfunction alarm. Replace it when it hits the 5-year service life mark from installation, or replace it if it reaches the 10-year shelf life date from manufacturer, whichever of those comes first.
Got it. And you mentioned this model often replaces older ones.
Yeah, the sources note it's often a direct physical replacement for older CCI brand detectors, which were common, that can sometimes make the actual swap out a bit easier if you're upgrading.
Okay, we've covered a ton. Let's just quickly hit some key safety warnings and limitations. Because this alarm, as vital as it isn't a magic bullet, right?
Absolutely not. That's a crucial takeaway. This Safety Alert 30442, it's a propane alarm only. That's all it does.
Not smoke, not CO.
No, it will not detect smoke from a fire. It will not detect carbon monoxide, which is another deadly odorless gas from incomplete combustion. You absolutely need separate, dedicated smoke alarms and CO alarms in your RV. No question.
And its performance hinges entirely on that RV power system.
Totally. It needs continuous, adequate 12V DC power. So you need to be checking your fuses, your wiring connections, and especially your battery health and voltage regularly. If the power's not right, the alarm can't do its job.
What about hearing it? Could it be too quiet in a big rig or for someone hard of hearing?
That's a valid consideration. It's 85 dB, which is loud, but sound can be blocked by walls, doors, maybe insulation. You need to think about where it's placed relative to where people sleep.
Yeah.
And if someone in the RV has hearing issues, you need a plan for how they'll be alerted. It's a point source of sound.
And it being a point detector, meaning it only senses gas right there.
Exactly. It samples the air right at its sensor opening. But remember, propane sinks and pools. It could potentially collect in a low spot somewhere else in the RV, maybe under a sofa or inside a sealed compartment, before it reaches the detector.
Which means your nose is still part of the system.
Vitally important. Your sense of smell is your backup detector. If you smell that mercaptan rotten egg odor anywhere in the RV, you treat it as a serious leak. Follow the full emergency procedure, turn off gas, evacuate, ventilate, shut off tank. Even if this alarm hasn't sounded yet, trust your nose.
Good point. And briefly, that California Prop 65 warning that's often on packaging.
Yeah, you see that a lot. It's a standard regulatory disclosure required in California. It means the product might contain chemicals on a state list related to certain health risks. It doesn't mean the product is faulty or unsafe when used as directed. Just handle it normally during installation and dispose of it properly later. Standard stuff.
So, wrapping this all up, what's the big picture for the RV owner? It's clearly more than just set it and forget it.
Definitely. If you connect all these dots, this alarm, it's not just a gadget. It's a critical piece of your RV's safety infrastructure, absolutely. But its effectiveness is really a partnership between the device and you.
It needs your active participation.
Exactly. It requires your informed engagement, knowing why it has to be low, understanding that service life versus shelf life distinction, committing to doing those regular tests, and having that emergency plan mentally rehearsed, ready to go. That's what makes the system work and keeps you safe.
Absolutely. So we've done a real deep dive here into the Safety Alert 30442 propane alarm. We've uncovered its features, stressed why placement and testing are just non-negotiable, broken down what those lights and sounds actually mean for your safety, and really clarified that vital difference between shelf life and service life. Which kind of leads us to the final thought. Given that this is a point detector and we know propane can pool in other low spots, how does actively using your own senses, especially your sense of smell, become just an integrated automatic part of your overall vigilance and safety routine every time you use your RV? Something to keep in mind as you hit the road.